Peg.
Hi.
John Llewellyn. Hello.
Okay, you folks are all set as far as I'm concerned. Have a good meeting.
Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, everyone. So it's 7 p.m. here, Wednesday, February 17th. This is John Pumphrey, Chairman of the Finance Committee. And I want to put a notice out to all the attendees, those folks that may watch this at home, that this is an open meeting. Will be broadcast live on WRPS. Meeting minutes will also be posted and available at the town clerk's office as well as online. So for tonight's agenda, we have some departmental presentations of budgets, operational budgets, discussions of any articles, things like that these departments may bring to the table. Scheduled to be up here tonight will be the Council on Aging, Veterans, Youth Commission, Police and Fire, IT, and I think I said Youth Commission. Did I leave any out?
Nope, that's everybody.
Okay, all right. Looks like we got Scott, we got John, we got Peg. I don't see anybody from the Veterans Agent.
We're going to try and get a hold of them right now.
I'll reach out to him.
Yep, if he can make it. I mean, I'm trying to, what I'm going to do is go with some of the smaller departments up front, and then we'll leave room at the end for police and fire. We're trying to keep these meetings short and concise to the extent that they can be. I know that a lot of these budgets don't have a lot of movement, frankly, because we don't have a lot of flexibility this year. So with that in mind, I would just ask those that are presenting to just be brief and go through your agenda from an operational perspective. If anything is contractual, things that we really don't have, the Finance Committee, certainly we can take that into consideration, but we don't have as much input on anything directional on that. Just cover that and move through your budget. Focus on those items that are, larger increases, provide some explanation, and hopefully in the beginning in your presentation, you can cover most of the movement from year to year. Then we can spend a little bit of time with some Q&A, and then we'll come back to the presenter and do ask them to go through any articles or bring in anything else that they want to discuss that's of dire need, things like that they'd like the Finance Committee to consider and potentially vote on with the budget season for fiscal 22. All right. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to try and bring up everybody's budget and kind of roll through it. For those presenters that may have like a PowerPoint or something they want to go through, just let me know, and I'll release and let you share your screen and kind of go from there. All right. All right. With that, I was hoping to bring up Peg first. Are you ready to go, Peg?
I am.
All right,
As you know, my budget is basically cut and dry. They did put the 1% increase in down the board. My line items for utilities and supplies and operating supplies all stayed the same. I do have an increase in the maintenance of buildings, and it's due to contracts that I have with the HVAC and all those different items. I also had to add on this year a pest control. I did see movement, so I didn't want to take any chances. So I just went ahead and took care of that. So there's another contract that I had to add to it. And that also will cover some of my maintenance that the building is almost 7 years old, if you can believe it. And there are things that are going wrong with it, small items, but I'm in a deficit every year when it comes to June on that line item. That's why I increased it for just the $4,000.
Okay, you mentioned line item. This particular line item's been under. Have there been other line items where you've been over? You've had some surplus?
I'm over every year because of we've had major issues that had gone wrong in the kitchen each year. It was the grease traps had to be replaced. There was major was major items in the kitchen. Our carbon monoxide whole system had to be replaced. This year, I'm running into the dishwasher is having problems. I'm repairing it as I go instead of spending another $20,000 to get a new dishwasher. So there are those type of items. So I think we'll be good with the 20. I'm usually about, Biz might be able to correct me on this here, but I think I'm usually about $4,000 off every year.
If you need some help in your dishwasher, let me know. I got my maintenance guy at the bowling alley who fixes our dishwashers all the time. Happy to help. But so, on that, so as far as your building maintenance, yeah, you are going over and you're running into a deficit every year. Are there any line items that you have a surplus every year that you have a little more money in your budget that you turn it back?
No.
No, Peggy uses every dime she has. If she ever has a turn back, since I've been here anyway, it's been $500, $1,000, because when her maintenance line does go over, we allow her to go over so she can take some of her other monies to cover that line item deficit, because it's bottom line.
Okay. And then energy utilities, you've got 5,000 in there. What utilities is that for? Gas?
That's the gas for the yep, that's the gas for the building.
Okay.
And the operating supplies is the Comcast and the Verizon wireless for the van drivers.
All right, and the operational budget, these are all step increases that you're talking about from here to here, and then you've got your 1% on top of that. Is that what we're looking at?
That is correct.
Now, all those contractual?
They're all union.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I take that back. The kitchen aide and the kitchen manager are not, but the bus driver, receptionist, and custodian, they're all they're all union.
Okay.
And it looks like the receptionist originally voted as a part-time position, and then we increased it to a full-time position.
I know, I think we had to, at some point when the COVID started, we had to give back, and I eliminated the reception position. Whoops. Oh, shoot. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I had to eliminate that position. And then I asked for it back when we were restoring the budgets, so I could rehire. I have not rehired yet.
Okay. Is the Council on Aging open yet? Is it,
It is not,
are you open full time?
It's not open. We are doing lunch programs. Starting next week, we're going to be doing some chair yoga classes and strengthening and stretching classes at a limited capacity. And then 3 days a week, we're going to do a social time. It's only 10 people in at a time, but it's a step towards something. We were doing it from September, and then when the numbers went higher, we cut it, we stopped doing it. Everything we do now is basically grab and go, whether it's any kind of a function that I ran before, say a Valentine's party or a Thanksgiving dinner. We do everything as grab and go. And it's been very successful, actually.
Okay. So have we just...
Receptionist, is that one or two people?
One or two people for?
The 42,202, is that for one person? Or do you have
That's for two people.
two people? Okay.
That is for two
I
people.
thought so.
We are open for services as far as appointments only, fuel assistance, Shine, which is the health insurance, food stamp applications we've been doing online for them. We've sent out many, do phone calls. We've sent out cards to people. We've given out gift bags for them with sanitizers and masks and things like that. So we've been communicating with everybody and getting things out there to the people, so.
So, I mean, with the amount of time that you've been closed in FY '21, are you going to end the year with a surplus?
I will end the year, yes. With like the receptionist, yeah, I'm not gonna use that. I won't be using that. Well, I can't say that. If we were told tomorrow we could open up, yes, I'd have to hire somebody.
It's
Which I
very
know-
hard to predict on a
Yeah.
surplus. That's just an impossibility at this point in time. Because with surpluses, let's say year-end transfers come into play. We had this discussion the last time. Let's say for some reason the police department had an emergency, they had to overspend their budget by $2,000. Peggy had an extra $2,000. We'd do a year-end transfer to move the $2,000 from Peggy into police department to cover whatever deficit that may have.
Yeah, I understand that. My question is whether or not this particular department was going to end up with a surplus at the end of the year, based on it's been closed more often than not. I just didn't know if there were other expenses that were creeping in where you're using, line items to cover things like the free lunches or the lunches to go and things like that.
The lunches is not funded through the town at all. That's all self-funded. It's by the donation of what the
Right.
senior will pay for it. So I don't touch any of that money at all. Nothing goes towards those lunches. It's completely self-funded.
Okay.
And I run neck and neck with spending out and bringing in.
Right. Yeah. No, I remember we had some conversation about that before.
Mhm.
Is your revolving account, is your number high enough? I know in the course of the year, the thing about revolving accounts is you can have money going in and out all day long, but at the end of the year, you can only bring in, it's either you can only bring in or you can only spend up to what your revolving account limit is.
I think I should be okay. It's 40, I think we're at 40. I think we did put it up to $40,000. It was either 40 or 45,000. I'm sorry, I don't have that figure in front of me, but I should be okay.
Okay. All right. So that's something to keep an eye on, because we did vote to increase or change some of the revolving account numbers just to be in compliance. It
Okay,
wasn't really a financial impact, but it did require a vote from the FinCom to do it. So if
okay,
that becomes an issue, let us know and we'll get that teed up for a vote.
okay.
All right. Any questions from anyone else on the operational budget? Again, this is a similar one. We're going to probably see this maintenance line grow. I would love to, Peggy. I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this question, but do we have like a clear plan for the building in terms of, what's out there for maintenance? Like what's under warranty? If there's anything left under warranty after 7 years, I don't know if there is.
Yeah, there's nothing under warranty after 5. It was after 5 years. It was 4 or
So
5.
you only have warranties up to 5.
Mhm.
Okay.
Peg, this is Julie Schaffer. Is the building completely closed, or are there people in there every day?
I'm sorry, the only ones that are coming in is by appointment only. Starting Monday, we are allowing 10 people per, 10 per class. We're gonna have 2 yoga classes going, at 8:45, then we'll sanitize the room. And then a 10:30 group will come in and we do the same thing on Wednesday for a strengthening and stretching class. We allow time to sanitize in between everything.
Okay, I was just thinking if the building was shut down, we could save some money on the utilities, but even if there's one person in there, you're gonna use them anyway.
Well, yeah, because it would be cold. I have my office up pretty high.
Yeah, you need the lights and the heat and
Yes.
everything. Okay,
Well, that we don't pay for any electric. That's all on the solar. So we don't do anything with the electric. It's
Okay.
just gas. And the ovens are going all the time.
yeah, cooking. Yeah.
Any final questions for Peg on operational budget? Okay. Peg, are you presenting any articles?
I am not at this time, no.
Staffing issues, or is there additional training that's needed? I don't see a training line item in your budget. Are you required to do different trainings? I know, everything from CPR trainings to, all kinds of stuff. Sometimes you have staff that's involved with food. You have requirements there. Do you have anything along those lines?
They, nope, they actually take care of it themselves, and then it comes out of our, I usually take it from my donation account for their reimbursement. Shine does, is yearly for certification. That's at no cost. And I think that's really it. It's just the kitchen that have to be certified.
Do you have
Our
to-
CPR, we're all due to have it done in June. We go every 2 years.
Okay.
But I've always had the fire department come and help us out with that.
Oh, there you go. All right. Good teamwork, right? All right. Any final questions for Peg?
No, looks good.
Well, thank you very much, Peg.
Thank
Peg, we
you.
appreciate everything you're doing
Thank
for
you,
the
Peg.
town.
Thank you.
We hope things get better so that you can open your doors wide again.
I can't wait. It's really pretty sad when you walk in there every day and it's kind of quiet compared to what it was. But we'll
Yeah.
get there. We'll get
All
there.
right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to bring up, did I see Tim came on from Veterans? Is that you, Tim?
Yes,
Welcome. How are you?
good, good. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for joining us here tonight.
No problem.
So I don't know if you were on when I talked about it in the beginning, but it's more, we just like to get the high level. If there's no movement, there's not a lot to discuss, but just kind of, we can roll through your budget and then we can roll on to anything additional outside of your budget that you need to discuss. But go ahead.
Sure. So, just on the basis, I've only been in the position for 3 months now. In 1 month of that, I've been sick. So, I don't have a great feel for, comparisons from the past and everything. So I looked over the numbers based on all, the things that I do and what I foresee, and it all looks good to me. Obviously, the big line item is veteran benefits. I looked at last year, and I believe we expended about $185,000 or so under that line item. But since I've come on, I've had additional growth. Brought 2 more on today, 1 2 weeks ago, and you never know. That it's the unknown, because a lot of them get their medical out-of-pocket costs covered, and that's just a random number. So being able to have the extra money there to protect on that side is helpful.
So Tim, do you have a feel for, if I said, if you go back 3, 4, 5 years, is 270? Does that cover your high point? Is it kind of like, is it the average? Is that an average year? Is that a high year? Where does 270 fall?
I don't know. I don't know what it looked like 3 years ago. And, we've only had normal cost of living increases. And then it's really just gauging the history of how many veterans and widows have been on veteran benefits month to month. Some come on for 2 months, others are on for years.
Right. Okay.
So I don't have a great answer for you to know the history of that lineup.
Yeah, in the past, and Bobby could probably keep me honest on this. We've in the past, they kept the veteran budget, I think, under what they were doing every year, and then at the end of the year, they'd come to us looking for money. But it feels like maybe some adjustments we've made in the last couple of years. It feels like we've been hitting the mark and giving you guys enough up front, and then turning in the surplus. So I feel like it's been doing okay. But if you look at your average and you feel like this is a low number, certainly we should bring that up sooner rather than later.
Certainly. I can take a look too. And I mean, I knew Vinny before because I've been in Hanson for 3 years, And I didn't get the sense that he's gone from 50 veterans on veteran benefits down to 20 or anything, nothing dramatic like that. He's had pretty steady numbers, but I would have to look specifically, to do the comparison.
Just for informational purposes for tonight, in 2020, we spent $223,000
Right.
in 2020, and that's pretty much been the average for the last few years, right around that range.
Okay.
All right.
That's good info. Thanks, Biz. That's kind of like, I feel like at 223 with 270 planned in there, we've got some flexibility to take on some more veterans if that's what happens. So,
Tim, can you talk a little bit about what that money is spent on for veterans?
Certainly. So those are Chapter 115 funds, and they support financial and medical costs, typically for veterans that are 65 and older, or widows of veterans that are 65 and older that are in financial need. But a portion of that money, when you go through the process, they'll be eligible to have out-of-pocket medical costs covered. So whether it's Medicare B that comes out of their Social Security, that gets reimbursed, or if they have a prescription plan, or if they have a Medigap coverage of Blue Cross Blue Shield Medex, for example, we pay that. Sometimes we pay directly to the veteran, and they pay the checks to Blue Cross Blue Shield. And then for other veterans who are in, say a worse financial position, I will pay Blue Cross Blue Shield or Tufts health plan directly. So those are some examples. In addition, we just serviced a homeless vet and his fiance and two young daughters, and with taking care of him for a couple of months. He may be getting deployed, and there's a lot of information going on there. So he's younger, the family's younger, so we do take care of folks like that. In addition, we'll work with veterans who may not be receiving unemployment, but they're out of a job, and we have to work to develop an employment plan for them, help them with their resume, career building, that type of thing, in searches for jobs to get them back on their feet. So that's the majority of the money in that line item. And the really one of the bigger gaps is widows. Frequently, widows don't know that they're covered under this, widows of veterans, and word of mouth spreads, and little by little, they're kind of shocked to learn that they're eligible for some type of financial stipend if they're in financial need. And really the key benefit is the out-of-pocket medical costs. So whether it's they provide me with CVS prescriptions that they've paid for, I reimburse them. Sometimes it's monthly, sometimes it's quarterly, that type of thing.
And Biz, is there any the relationship between the veterans budget and the COVID funds that are available? Is there any connection there where there's ability to help the veterans that are affected by COVID, through those funds, or is that just not part of what it does?
That's not part of what the CARES Act does. Although we were able to provide the Veteran Services offices with equipment and computers and things like that they need to help work with the vets when they have the opportunity to meet with them.
Yeah, I mean, I can envision, just along those lines, that would be great for if some vets are not able to get out to even have a visit over the internet. But
right, yeah.
That's
what we also did for the veterans agent is we did a little bit of construction work down at the COA because his office wasn't really adequate through the COVID CARES Act, and got him a new desk area and things like that. Those things were allowable. So those are the types of things that we did for the veterans agent. And of course, I don't know if Vinny ever ordered PPEs at all, but there's always PPEs available should Tim need those.
Yeah, I have a small amount of PPE in the office, which is helpful, masks and in all the sanitizing agents and so forth. And I pass those out. Everybody nowadays, they're all coming in with their masks and they're on top of it. But every now and then somebody forgets one and I grab one for them.
Yeah, if somebody needs some and they can't afford them, are we able to step up and help them out that way too?
And that way from the CARES Act situation, we can discuss that with Tim and see if he'd like to get a supply on hand. The fire department is always available to help out with us too. If we have to require anything for Tim and his veterans, we'll see what we can do to achieve that.
Hey, John, this is Doug. Can I make one other point, if I could?
Yep.
Could you scroll up to the top of his budget? I'm not sure if we had discussed this before or not. Our prior agent, Vinny Fontaine, left, I don't want to say abruptly, but he left. You know, we weren't anticipating it. He got a really good opportunity, and we're happy for him that he was able to do that. But we were very fortunate that we were, through Vinny's help, able to get Tim very quickly. However, he is also a part-time veterans agent in the town of Hanson. So we actually only have Tim 3 days a week. So what I wanted to highlight is that the salary line here is for the full-time 5-day-a-week salary, although Tim is only working for us 3 days a week. And the reason why we still want to fund it at that 5-day-a-week level is, as Tim noted, he's very new and he's just getting his feet wet. And this is the first time we've gone from 5 days down to 3. So we want to make sure, and that's what that part-time share is there. We may need to bring in some additional help on those 2 days that he's off. So that's why we have it fully funded. I just wanted to make sure that was transparent.
All right. Any questions on the veterans budget? Okay. Celebrations, it looks like it's our year. Is that accurate for celebrations for Tri-Town?
So I don't know for certain. I was under the impression last Memorial Day that Rockland ran Memorial Day, but because of COVID, it was mooted effort.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did Veterans Day, but we still have to purchase items for the Tri-Town parade and so forth if we do go to a parade or if we have that type of event.
Okay. I think I thought though that in years when I thought that responsibility rotated year to year,
Right.
in terms of the budget item.
We still have expenses for each parade, so.
Right, the towns take a lead as to who the lead is per year, but there are still expenses.
Okay.
We're spending $3,000 as a town for Memorial Day and spending $5,500 as 1/3 of our share for Veterans Day. Am I hearing that right?
Tim, if I may, that's because we're working with the 3 different communities. You have various police details. The Memorial Day parade is specific to Rockland.
Right.
The Tri-Town has the 3 different community involved. So the 3 different communities will have an increased share. It doesn't mean we have to spend all $5,500, but we also provide, I believe, Tim, if I'm correct, different flags on the gravestones and things like that. Is that part of the parade celebrations as well?
Yes.
All right. So I want to clear on Memorial Day, it's just Rockland, and we spend $3,000, including the flags. On Tri-Town, when it's our turn, we have the same parade route, the same police details in Rockland. We don't have the flagging of the graves, and we spend $5,500. And when the parade isn't in our town, and we don't have any police detail, we still spend $5,500. I'm just trying to understand why that parade is twice as expensive, whether we host it or not.
I just want to clarify, we do not charge anything for details for any of the parades. The police department takes that on, and it's just part of our duty. So there are no costs for police in the parades.
Okay, thank you, Chief. So, but it's still costing us twice as much, whether we host it or not, for Veterans Day versus Memorial Day that we do host. I'm trying to understand where those costs are coming from.
What I'd like to do here, if you don't mind, Mr. Stewart, is the Tri-Town Parade is completely new to Tim. So in order to be fair to Tim and give you the information you're looking for, if you can give me a little bit, I'll look up and see exactly what the expenses are, and I can email the committee tomorrow so that you're aware. Now, we know we didn't have one last year. The year before was in Whitman. I know we had some costs there. So I can pull up those expenses so I can share those with you tomorrow if that's okay.
That'd be great, Biz. And
Okay.
also, I mean, is it the policy that for the Tri-Town, the expenses are shared equally every year? So when we are hosting, it's not going to be bumped up from that?
Correct. So what
Okay.
we do is we keep it level funded because you never know what you're going to run into at any given time during a parade as well. So that's just one of the things that has always been level funded for the memorial and the Tri-Town.
Okay,
So
yeah, it'd be great seeing those expenses because I'm
Sure.
just seeing 3,000 for one parade and
Mhm.
16,500 for
No, just
another parade.
5,500.
5,500
Okay, I'm like, well,
times three.
16,000. I'm going to that parade.
No,
Okay.
5,500 times 3 towns. So we're talking
Oh,
about
okay.
$16,000 to put on that
Yeah.
parade. And I know when
Yeah.
they're in Rockland, they
Yeah.
go on the same route.
Right, and each town has their own budget for whatever they feel their needs are. And ours might be a little bit different from Abington's or from Whitman's. So I'll get you the information and that might satisfy some of the questions.
That'd be
Biz,
great. Thank you.
you'll compare the Memorial Day parade versus the Tri-Town parade?
Sure, I'll get you whatever I can for
Only
the
'cause
last 2 years.
I'm curious too as to why,
Sure.
if they're both the same exact route, like
Mhm.
Bill said, why
Right.
is it $2,500 more?
Right.
No
Well-
details. I mean,
2,500 for just our share of
Right.
that other parade.
Now, there may be a cost involved in bringing outside celebrants, like if you bring in the,
Exactly.
the bagpipers and
Exactly.
stuff like that. Because those do
Military
cost,
towns.
exactly, those things cost money.
no, I'm just saying, Bill, you brought up a point. I mean, what's the difference between the two?
Yeah, and that's the information Biz is going to get us. So,
5,500,
yeah.
if they're the same
Yeah.
parades.
Mhm.
So let's
Right.
table this and let Biz do her job and then
Yeah, all right.
come back. But it's a good
I just want to
point.
make sure she gives us the right information.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I
Sounds good.
will.
And that's fine. We're not voting on it tonight, so that's fine. I just raised the
Okay.
issue and look
Sure.
forward to the additional information. Thank you, Biz.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Bill. All right. Anything else to share, Tim?
The only other thing that I can think of, and it's just based on your question to Peggy, was like training. I didn't think of it when I was reviewing the numbers because of COVID. We haven't gotten together, all the groups, and we have mandatory training that we typically attend a couple of weeks out of the year and then one other day in the wintertime. That's all been suspended. And I don't know when that's going to start up again. But I didn't necessarily see a line item that would cover, like dues and meetings is in there, but that's only $250. I'm a part of a couple of associations, and maybe when I go to those meetings, that includes some mileage or something. But if there was training, for instance, we used to stay in Leominster for 4 days, 4 nights in the wintertime and 4 nights in October. They're trying to change it because of COVID and adapt to new ways of doing business. So I don't have a visual on that because all of it's been suspended, but there's no specific line item for that.
If I may speak to that line item, Vinny, absolutely wonderful man, did everything he could for the town and then some. unfortunately, he paid for some of these out of his pocket. That's why the budget's so low. This is something that we know we've had to address and we will address. We did bump up some of his budget from 20 to 21 because we felt some of it was a little bit low. I don't see his budget in front of me, but it is something we can address. And if Tim has a requirement to go to meetings, we'll fulfill whatever he needs to do. And a change in a budget of like $500 is not anything dramatic. That's something that we can always work out as we, close out the fiscal year or as we're coming into to 22 to make sure that Tim has everything he needs to do his job.
And it's also a bottom line budget, and we're
correct.
putting $270,000 in for veterans benefits and spent only $232,000 was it last year.
Yes.
So there's plenty of room in the budget right now.
Correct. To address his needs.
Yeah.
And that's something, as Tim said, he's only been here for a couple months. We were already starting the budget process, and this whole coronavirus and us not being able to meet on a regular basis makes our job's a little bit more difficult, but we will make sure that Tim has everything he needs.
And that chapter 15 he was talking about, we get some of that money back from the state on that. Out of that 270, we get reimbursed. This is on the revenue side. We get that back.
Right.
75% of it.
75%.
75, okay.
So Tim, if you have the support of the finance committee, if there's something you ever needed, Biz will organize it and bring it to us, but I feel like I'm kind of frozen here. You guys hear me still?
Yeah.
Can't hear me. All right. So, I wouldn't be terribly concerned with it, but if there's opportunities for you to get better training, something that'll help get better benefits for the town of Rockland, for the veterans. Appreciate the time, Tim, tonight, and if everybody's okay, we're going to move on to Youth Commission.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
Thanks, Tim.
Hi, everyone.
Hey,
Just before we get going, although I didn't change the title here, it's officially been changed to Recreation Department. So that'll be a change going forward when we get to our formal budget process. Sorry, Jean, I didn't change it earlier.
I'm not offended.
Done.
I think you've been a little bit busy. I understand.
I think we all are. Sorry.
No worries.
Okay. All right. What do we got, Gene?
So my budget hasn't changed a whole lot. I don't even know where to start. I feel like this year has been a kind of a crazy, weird year. This year we've been on and off in terms of doing programming. Of course, when everything shut down, we shut down too. We were able in the fall to start to run some programming, but we had that surge right before Christmas and everything really, we shut down along with the schools. So we took a hit, and as a result of that, furloughed Casey and Jared. As I've addressed the board before, Casey and Jared are both come out of our revolving account. Casey is my administrative assistant, excuse me, and Jared is our program manager. So Jared's position's a little bit more new over the past 3 years, but Casey's has been around for a long time. So because their programming, their salaries come out of the revolving account, with the help of the town administrators and Biz, we kind of went through an exercise and decided to furlough them probably till April. But just for the mere fact that we're not running a lot of programs, the programs that we're running, as Peg indicated, you can only have so many people in a gym or even in a classroom. So we're not getting the numbers and the revenue in to support both of those positions. So they're furloughed till April. But in the meantime, we are starting to run some programming. I'm trying to bring some programming back. And I can't do it all by myself, but what I can do, I'll do. So in terms of my budget, I don't, do you have questions about it? It's pretty close to the same as last year.
I don't have it.
I don't see anything on your maintenance. You get your maintenance here at, it says maintenance, professional and technical. What does that mean?
So that would be the maintenance for the pond, the pumps, the electricity, plumbing,
Okay.
all of that.
Okay, that's for the park. Okay.
Yeah, that's really for the park.
So you don't have like a maintenance line item for the building itself?
No, this is just mine. This is not the building.
Okay.
The McKinley is a non-budgeted building that falls under revolving funds.
So in April, when the weather gets better, will you be able to have more programs outside?
Yeah, that's our hope, that the snow will clear away and we'll be able to go outside. Because when we're outside, there's less of a spread of the virus. The kids
There's no restriction, is there, in the number of kids you can have outside?
Well, hopefully there will be by then, yes. Right now, I think it's at 25. So you can only have groups of 25. We ask parents to stay either in their cars or away from the group. They usually stand 6 feet apart. Sometimes I go down there and, have to move people aside and ask them to separate. But for the most part, all the parents have been fantastic. We do have to go through, and I suspect that we'll have to go through for the rest of this year, a series of COVID questions every time a kid comes into either into this building or into the park or wherever we're holding programming. And the parents have been great about that. They actually know all of the questions, and it's either a no or, and they've been very good about keeping their kids out of the programs too. If they have the sniffles, we get a phone call. So that's been really great. The community's been excellent at that, I feel.
That's good.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So outside of some contractual increases, fairly level funded budget, any questions for Jean on the operational budget for the recreation department?
Any articles?
Nope.
No.
Nope, no articles this year?
Not this year. Wait till next year, people. Just wait till next year.
Okay. Anything you want to share with us about the building? Because I know that's your biggest thing. Is there?
Oh, John, we don't have enough time. No, just kidding. So we've definitely have had some maintenance on the building. The building houses daycare right now, and the rest of the classrooms that are running are all remote learning. So every week it changes with the remote learning kids that come in, whether they're cohort A or cohort B. The sprinkler system project has been completed. So the 3rd floor is up and running, which is great. Those guys did a great job. They ran into a couple of little issues, but that's complete. So we have some leaks in the roofs, but you can't do anything until the snow and the weather gets better. But other than that, a few little plumbing issues. And once you start to touch plumbing, if anyone owns an older home, if you touch one thing, it feels like you touched, 4 things.
Now, is the McKinley being used to help expand any of the, the school's footprint to, alleviate or allow more kids to be in person or anything like on those lines?
Well, what it's allowing is for the teachers, and I can't speak for daycare because they're really the ones that are running it, but I get the sense that most of the children that are here are teachers' children. So, but there is a good number that are children that are in the town. Their parents have to go to work, so they're here doing their remote learning weeks.
Okay.
But I believe the actual daycare itself, I think it's mostly teachers. Sorry, Doug, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, Jean, do you mind if I just add one more thing about the
Yeah,
building? Maybe
absolutely.
just because you did an excellent job of explaining everything, but maybe just a little bit of a bigger picture is, there, as I think everyone knows, there has been a lot of deferred maintenance over many, many years. And so the building, ideally it needs a lot of improvements. We did the feasibility study where we had the architect come in, and I think you're all aware of that. So we're working closely with Jean to, kind of figure out what the long-term plan is, because the current trajectory that we're on, is not really sustainable from a facilities maintenance perspective. So, there'll be more to come as we kind of get the plan of attack together. But I just want you to know that, the building has a lot of needs, and we're gonna, we'll have some big decisions to make in the not so distant future.
Gene, it's Jeff. Didn't you say something about the ceiling? You needed that was pretty bad shape. It needed to be fixed.
The second floor and the third floor ceilings, we found out that they are horsehair plaster, and it's not all of the rooms. There's been some work that's been done already on taking some of the ceilings down, but some of them, and no one's in those classrooms, the ones that actually need to come down. So,
okay.
Yeah. I did want to let the group know that we're doing a usage study at Hartsuff Park, and that's through CPA funding. It's going really well. I think we've got a good group of people. We're going to have a survey out on the town website pretty soon. So spread the word, spread the link, and so that everybody can do their part and take that survey, so we know where to go forward, how to go forward with the park and get better use out of it.
That's awesome. So.
No yawning, Joe. Busted.
All right, good stuff, Jean. I appreciate it. If there's no further questions for Jean, we'll let her get on her merry way.
I just want to say thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, and thanks for volunteering your time. I know you guys do a lot of work. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jean.
Thanks,
Bye.
Jean.
Thank you, Jane.
All right, folks, we're making progress here, which is good. Next up, we have the police department. We got Chief Llewellyn here. How are you, John?
I'm doing well, thank you. And unfortunately, unlike some of these other departments, we didn't close a single day during COVID, so we're still there.
I hear you. Myself too.
So my budget is really, it's very simple the way it's presented to you. I think it's, other than when, I guess, Doug put in the 1% increase for non-union contracts, I only had, I think, 0.5% request for an increase. And that was basically contractual. The education, we've hired 3 new officers finally, and they all came to us with bachelor's degrees. So that increased my education incentive cost by
3,100.
It was 15,000 total there.
Yeah.
And by bringing on those 3 officers, I asked for an increase of $2,700, so $900 a piece in the clothing allowance. And then Biz has taken a contractual item for me, was that I have an insurance reimbursement in my employment contract for $2,500. It's basically an insurance policy for me that was negotiated many years ago. And I've always just taken that out of the bottom line of my budget, but I see that Biz has finally added that in to do the right thing. So, and then I'm entering the last year of my contract, last year of my term, if you will. And that was a contractual increase there. So other than that, we're maintaining, we're doing okay this year financially. Building maintenance and things is starting to run a little bit high now that we're just beyond halfway point of the year. And I did put in 2 articles, one for 2 new cruisers and one for a new roof on the police station, which Doug and I have been talking about extensively. It's sort of about a 6 out of 10 right now. We have been patching a number of holes over the years. We did have to redo my executive assistant's office completely 18 months ago because of a leak that got into the sheetrock in the office and the rug and everything else. So it's not critical yet, but it's only a matter of time. So I'm happy to answer any questions on the budget itself, but it's pretty self-explanatory.
Do you have a dollar figure on what the roof is going to cost?
Yes, right now we have a quote from last year. It was 112,400. We have contacted them as of 2 weeks ago. They said an estimated increase in that cost would be $5,000 because of material cost increase. They're going to honor the same labor cost. I was kind of excited. We did have a quote in the $50,000 range, but because it's a municipal building and they were not paying union wages or prevailing wage, we unfortunately can't use them. So.
Just so that people know, the roof is on our free cash allocation and capital projects this year for 112,000. So now we know we need another 5. I'll add that to the schedule.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so John, I mean, it looks like budget-wise, it's really majority of your budget changes are contractual. Salary changes. Looks like a lot of your other stuff is staying about the same. You talked about the clothing allowance and the increase in the officer training. I don't see anything significant. Other than that, looks like everything else is level funded on the maintenance side. Obviously, you have a big department, you have a big chunk of the budget. Anything else going on in that the police department needs? I mean, I know the building is getting a little bit older, but beyond that, is there additional things that you're holding off on just because of the situation we are in terms of budget?
I mean, ideally, I have to retire at 65 unless we go to town meeting and try to extend it. And I have not even started those discussions or anything yet. So the plan right now is that I'll be retiring in about 15 months. So ideally, what I would be doing now would be going through the process of hiring another officer with the hopes that we're going to promote from within the department, which will ideally be up to the selectman and the town administrator. And that would just basically backfill my slot. As you may know, my wife also works in the department. She may very well retire one day after I do. We're not sure about that. She's really going to see how she feels at the time. It's really going to be her call on a personal basis. So there may very well be 2 slots in 14 months or so coming up. So ideally, I would like to start the process sooner than later so that we don't do what we've done all these past years and dip down in our number of offices, which increases our overtime costs, which increases a lot of other things as well. So, and I will tell you right now, hiring in the police profession is extremely difficult, is putting it mildly. We've gone from an applicant pool to an applicant puddle. I just tried to hire 10 permanent intermittents. Within the past 18 months, I'm down to 3. So, and I started out with a pool of about 39 candidates. So, we're maintaining our standards, but we're just not getting the quality of applicant. And listen, that's probably due to a lot of negative publicity that my profession has got in the past year or so. So I'm hoping that as time goes on and that we show that that's, not happening here in the Northeast and that we are better than that we'll start to get those quality candidates again.
Sure.
Chief, is your experience consistent there with what other towns in the area are facing, that they're all finding it tough to find people?
Absolutely. I attend chiefs meetings 3, sometimes 4 times a month. This is often a topic of conversation. And you know what? We're a mid-sized department. We're in the mid-30s. I talked to Plymouth Police Department, Braintree, Quincy, 100 plus officers, and they're in much more dire straits than we are. So I think you're going to see a lot of changes with the police reform bill that has come out. Ideally, they'll do away with the Civil Service Commission. They will come up with something else that provides, benefit for veterans, disabled veterans, residents, all the things that the Civil Service Commission provides now without the years of red tape that it takes to get that candidate. So.
And the three new ones you've hired, they're up to snuff. You didn't have to dumb down the requirements at all to bring them in.
No, but you make an interesting point that we had 6. I've already sent 3 to the full-time academy. The 3 permanent intermittents that we've had because of COVID, they were just ramping up. They were all excited about becoming police officers. We had them sworn in, but unfortunately, because of COVID, I have not allowed them in the building because I locked our building down right away. And so they're getting cheated out of all the training and things that they should be having, and they should be ready for me by now. But we just got our second round of shots today. Thank you very much to the fire department. I'm hoping that, things are going to be I'll be able to relax some of the restrictions in the near future. But this whole COVID and the puddle that we're dealing with of applicants has been a real problem.
I think it was last year you were talking about a need for an additional school resource officer. Is that still out there, or are there other needs that you have where you feel like the department needs to grow to meet the needs of the community?
So that's a great question. And I've talked to Dr. Cron about this. And as you know, they intend to break ground, I believe, next month on the new school. He still has requested a school resource officer when that school opens. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm going to fight hard for that because we're talking about the elementary level now. As you know, we're opening our second marijuana distribution place with another 2 on the slate. There are some serious finances coming into the town as a result of that marijuana facility. And I know that we've talked about it, and I know I've talked till I'm blue in the face, but I truly believe that a percentage of those funds need to go towards a school resource officer or something so that we can be educating the kids. We still have the DARE program. It's a great program, but with more and more marijuana being used recreationally, I really think it's important that we start that relationship even younger and younger with the kids in school. So.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. As always. Anything else for John regarding operational budget? We did mention the, you know what the cruisers are going to come in at, John? Is it going to be, you've done 90 or something in the past. Is that
96,000 for the 2?
96,000. Okay.
That's
all right. Any
also
other
on the
questions for John?
capital.
John, I just want to thank you for all your dedication for the town, all these years working on the force, you and your wife, Sue. And let's.
No. Did Bobby freeze or did everybody freeze?
No,
Just Bobby.
Just Bobby, I think. Bobby, I appreciate that. There's nothing I would rather have done. I've enjoyed every minute of my career, and still got a year and a half to go anyway. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well,
yes, thank you, John.
Yeah.
a lot of us on the call raised our kids here, and we appreciate everything you and your team have done to keep the place safe. So
Absolutely.
keep it up and finish
Phenomenal
strong, as
job.
they say, right?
We will, I promise.
All right. Thanks, John. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Bye, John.
Bye, guys. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night. Stay safe.
John, if you don't mind, before we go on to the next budget, I just want to give a quick update on the veterans information that you had asked for. We leave our budget in there static for the Memorial Day parade at the 5,500. We spend that money each third year. And when we spend that money, it is higher because we have additional costs, including we buy flowers for participants in the parades, and then we also pay for the different marching bands. In 2018, I believe we paid for Boston Wind Jam, and in 2019 we paid for Pro Sound Services. So that's where the difference is between the two.
Right.
Did you say we only pay that every third year?
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
But we keep
when
it in
we
the
host
budget.
it, that'll go up to like 8-9 grand, won't it, Biz? That
I
5,500?
certainly hope not. We'll get estimates as we go forward to that time frame, but I did look it up, and rather than wait till tomorrow, I just kind of wanted to give you a quick update. But we do leave that budget static so it doesn't get lost and taken out and spent someplace else.
Right.
So you're saying the budget, what we use of that budget goes up and down year to year, depending on what our responsibilities are. And some years you run a surplus, but you feel like the 5,500 covers our top years. Is that what you feel like?
On the years that I'm looking at, that was a couple of years ago, we spent 5,200.
Good. All right.
Okay, so.
Well, my only concern is it's a bottom line budget, so
Oh, no,
there's-
that doesn't get spent, yeah.
there's
Yeah.
an extra $5,500
Mhm.
in there 2 out of every 3 years in that budget.
Correct,
Right.
and we leave it
Right.
there, so it doesn't get lost in the budgeting process. If we take it out and it's not in the budget, you have changes of personnel, et cetera, it'll just go away, and chances are it won't show up. That's why we leave it in there at such a small number. But again, this will close out to free cash at the end of the year, if it's not needed to close off another deficit.
Okay.
Thanks, Biz. Appreciate it. I'm going to go on to the fire department budget. Scott, you there?
I am here. Good evening, everyone.
Hey,
Hey,
Scott.
Hey, Scott, I don't.
I know in the past you've done a PowerPoint here and there. Do you
Yeah.
have something that you wanted to share your screen, or you want to go right
I
into your operation?
don't. So, you guys get a reprieve this year of a awesome Scott Duffy PowerPoint. So,
Oh,
Thanks.
we'd love to see his PowerPoint.
We were
We're looking forward
that,
to it, but all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Sorry.
looking forward to it.
Coming soon to a theater near you.
right.
All right, Scott, what do we got?
So, exactly similar to the police department budget. This is a level funded budget. The only increases you see there are the contractual increases, per line, and then with the 1% increase added on top. So that's really, there is nothing there that is new. College credits, I've had four personnel earned degrees over the past year, which is an excellent thing. I really push the education. It shows, the department's getting more intelligent, and that's something I will never dissuade. So that's really the largest increase. It's like a 37% increase, 38% increase on per that line. So that's the biggest increase is that training payroll.
So the executive assistant is a $5,500 raise year over year. Is that
So
contractual?
It's contractual. It's this is the last of that contract. Yes.
Chief, quick question. Is the college credits, is that a one-time thing, or do they earn those every year for the rest of their career?
Every year. So every year, if you have an associate's degree, it's a one-time payment. Every year, 6.5%. Bachelor's is 9%, and if you have a master's degree, it's 10%.
Okay.
And then as you're going through earning your credits, there are certain dollar figures, amount. If you have like 24 credits, it's a $700 payment for that year. So, but yeah, it's every year.
So the net increase in your salary, and a lot of this has to do with people. This whole top section is 2%. Does that sound about right?
It's about 1.8%. Yes.
Got it.
And if you took out the 1% raise, it's just a little over 1. So yeah, the numbers all work out.
Are you on full staff, Scott?
We are full staffed right now. So I'm looking at one pending retirement in July, possibly.
Okay.
He hasn't made a definitive, but we are fully staffed. Yes.
Okay. And we have So if you have somebody that's coming off, if somebody does retire, it could potentially be, what is it, sick leave buyback that we have to come up with?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And unfortunately, I found this out about 2 weeks ago. So my first call when he walked out of my office, my first call was to Biz. So we have had those discussions.
Okay, all right.
And that's part of our capital request and free cash allocation as well, because we do have a few projected retirements.
Scott, another question on the line item substitute payroll.
Yes.
So that's $500,000. That's for overtime for guys filling shifts.
That's exactly what it is, Bill. So it's vacation, personal, injury, sick. So when somebody's off, so we're such a small department that in order to maintain our services, we fill every position that's out. If somebody calls in sick, or if somebody takes a vacation day, or if somebody is injured on duty, then we have to fill their position when they're out.
Okay, and that makes sense. So the shift size now is 6. Is that correct?
We have 2 groups at 6 and 2 groups at 7. Yes. Okay.
I'm just wondering, when I look at $500,000, what would happen if we hired 4 new firemen and said that, if we're down 1, we're not going to fill, but if we're down more than 1, we'll fill up to -1. Would it be less expensive adding 4 firefighters than to spend $500,000 on substitute payroll?
I believe the numbers overall work out that filling the shifts are cheaper at our size department. I mean, we would have to get up to, like a 10 or 12 person department in order to really drop down to your innate, in order to make the, and keep up the operations. But it's with based upon salary and benefits, it's cheaper to pay the overtime.
Okay.
Okay, any questions on that portion of the budget?
Another quick question, Scott. Following up on Chief Llewellyn, have you had to fill positions, and if so, how are you finding the quality, or the other chiefs in the area? Is there this dearth of talent at fire as well as police?
I could have recorded Chief Llewellyn's comments and just played them back to you. I could have, his whole budget presentation could have, I'm echoing it. So we are a civil service department, so we have to hire off the available list, and we're a profession that nobody wants to do right now. It's really there are no quality candidates. I mean, there are quality candidates, but everybody's fighting for them.
Yeah.
So when we do get an open position, I send the troops out to steal other guys from other civil service departments, have them transfer in, and we've done a really good job. We've had 3 transfers, and we're bringing in trained people, we're bringing in quality people that want to work, and our department has a great reputation, so people want to come work with us. We've been very fortunate. We have an awesome department as far as the ones that we have hired. The 2 guys in the academy are quality candidates. We happened to jump all over them when they came up on the list. But if I had to hire tomorrow off the current list, it'd be a struggle.
Do you think that's more COVID related rather than the reputation of the job itself?
It may be for the list coming, Julie. But I think, I think before COVID, the private industry, people were making good money in the private industry, and the markets were good, so business was good. Civil service jobs, the town jobs, people, they strayed away from them. It's still considered manual labor, and really, I think you're seeing a lot of that going away. The trades, plumbers, carpenters, electricians, they're having a hard time getting people, and we're no different. You know, we considered, you know, we still work with our hands. So I think we're seeing that along with everybody else. So, you know, we're pushing it. We're trying to, you know, market ourselves, and so hopefully COVID doesn't hurt us even more.
Yeah, well, congratulations on even getting the job done with the peril that you put yourself in.
Yeah, no, thank you. Appreciate that. They've done an excellent job. We had a few people get sick early on, and, you know, we took some draconian measures up the fire station as far as, you know, social distancing, mask wearing, you know, I put some rules, and thank God the guys have been following them. They really didn't fight me on it. They understood why. And like I said, we have an awesome department. So that helps too, is, you know, they
You guys all vaccinated now, Scott?
We are. So the second half of the department received their vaccinations this morning. So second doses. So we are all vaccinated now. So 2 weeks, we'll all have, you know, the immunity that's, you know, the 98% immunity, hopefully.
Okay. And then
How did the disinfectant spray work out that you bought last year?
Awesome.
Really?
Awesome. We're using it. We're still going through it. The machines that we bought for the town are getting used. It is really a sight to see. And, you know, we bring somebody to the hospital that we, you know, suspect of having COVID. We get it back. We hook this machine right up to the ambulance. We've piped the ambulances up so that we just hook a hose to the ambulance. We turn the machine on, and the whole ambulance gets disinfected within about 20 minutes. It's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good.
Have any other departments used it?
As far as within town, yeah, we purchased more through the CARES Act for other town departments, and then other fire departments have purchased their own. But you know, we're willing to share our equipment and help out, and you know, teach the other departments how to use the machines, and they're getting used. I believe daycare is using theirs weekly. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking more for the schools. If it works that fast, they could go in on a weekend and do every room.
Yeah.
Every week, you know.
Yeah, I don't know what the schools are using.
Yeah.
They do have their own sanitation equipment that was
They do.
purchased through the CARES Act as well.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I know we did get a budget request at the end of the last fiscal year for, I want to say it was 25,000 or in that range to buy that machine. And then we knew the plan was that we were going to get reimbursed. So did that all work out then, Liz, Biz? Did that money come back to the town through the CARES Act?
Well, our allocation is 2.885 million. And so far we've sent in reimbursements for requests for 2,045,000. We've only received 367,000. And this month, February, we're supposed to be receiving 450,000, and March 850,000, and then the following month we'll probably get probably another 500,000-600,000.
Time to get healthy. I like it.
Yeah, in that in the equipment, the sanitizing equipment that we bought for the station, we did put through the through FEMA. We requested reimbursement through FEMA, and
Right.
That's been submitted. I haven't heard back. It takes months to get back from them.
Got it. Okay. Equipment maintenance, you're flat, and then building maintenance, you're flat. Are those, you know, I know if I gave you more money in the building maintenance, or if you got more money in your building maintenance, you could use it all. But is the 20,000? Are you able to at least keep things kind of patched up and working?
We're keeping things working, patched up. No, we've got plaster falling down. We've got plaster in my office falling down from a leak in the bathroom upstairs above my office. We have 80-year-old plaster that's fallen off walls in bedrooms. We have tiles on the second floor. The flooring tiles that are popping up, the adhesive's drying out, and underneath are asbestos tiles with asbestos adhesive. So as quickly as they're popping up, we're trying to get new tiles down on that. So we're keeping things working, but not patched up.
It's got two questions. Number one of the items last year on the I don't know, this capital budget or whatever, was getting everybody a second set of gear. Did that happen? And number two, quick update on what's going on with the with potential new or renovated stations.
Sure. So everybody got their second set of gear. We also received a grant from the state for a new gear washer. So that's been installed. I'm waiting for it to get plumbed out. Hoadley's has been waiting about 4 months for a part for it to plumb it because of COVID. So, you know, once that's in, you know, the risk of cancer, you know, decreases even greater. So our second set of gear has come in. We're using it. It's been great. As far as the new building, we're going to be breaking ground tomorrow on that. Oh, wait a minute. This isn't a dream. So we're working.
I started writing that down.
Sorry, Julie. I'm working with Doug to, so there's a lot of new development going on in town, especially down by Route 3. So we're going to do a response time study and look at that area to see if, you know, we focus on a 2-station model, which has its ups and its downs for the town. So, and then hopefully, you know, maybe we can lean on some of these developers to assist us with a station. And then, you know, we'd have to renovate the current headquarters. But we're looking into another study on that, which was funded at the special town meeting in November.
Yeah, because Scott, didn't we do a study years ago in a station? Because remember they wanted to put a substation up on Beach Hill?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it? You have to be within 4 minutes or something like that. Remember, you have to have a 4-minute response time.
It is 4 to 6 minutes is your ideal response time. So yes. And right now we're to get to Pond Street. So if we had to get to like Pond at Longwater, it's about 8-minute response.
From where you are now?
Correct. Just because of traffic.
So Beach Street would take longer than that too.
Right. It's about 6 to 7 minutes to get out onto the peninsula route at Millbrook.
All right, good stuff. Any more questions on Scott's budget for operational? We went over some of the payroll changes, things like that.
Looks good.
Okay. Dispatch, looks like you're taking 150,000 haircut here. Is that because of the grant money we have coming in?
That is, yes, correct. So we obviously we sub out our dispatch over to Holbrook, which they've incredible job. I couldn't. I mean, there are things that how we ever survived and didn't kill anybody before going to Holbrook, I don't know. So Holbrook does a great job. Holbrook Regional, through the state 911 grant, applied for an incentive grant for the town of Rockland, and they received it. So it's a 5-year grant. First 3 years pays for our dispatch totally, and then our 4th year is like at 50%, and the 5th year is at 25%, is what they pay. So it's great for these upcoming years. I know Biz and I have had hard discussions about maintaining a line item so that we know that in 5 years or 6 years, it's going to become a reality again. One of the things, you know, in order to kind of close up that gap of the deficit that we're seeing is, you know, Biz and Doug have worked out, you know, taking that 150,000 out of the budget, which I'm fairly comfortable with. I think, you know, the grants 99.95, you know, 99.95% guaranteed. But, you know, what about that other, you know, half a 1% chance that it isn't. So, you
And
know,
Scott, if I could,
please.
if you look at the total budget itself, John, that we sent you, you'll see a couple of departments who had a budgetary reduction. The dispatch was one of them. And this is only temporary for this to be reduced. This money will be going back in because we don't want to lose the traceability on this budget, because we will have an obligation going forward. And as I had said earlier, once you take something out of a budget, it tends to disappear. And Scott and I are adamant, and Doug as well, to make sure we keep this in the budget every year. And if we feel we can move around some of that money, then we will move it. But this is just a temporary solution to balance our budget for this year. And our FY22 budget is still a work in process, as we know, because we haven't received the final governor's budget. We still have some other items coming in, going up and down. So this is sort of a placeholder for the 150.
But if everything works out the way we expect, we should be getting in the neighborhood of 300 and change. But we're not budgeting for that. Is that fair to say? Because what Scott had just said is that we would get reimbursed for the first 3 years, and then it would go to 50, then 25.
We don't get reimbursed. That funding goes straight to Holbrook. But what will happen is Holbrook won't be requesting payment from us for a percentage. And each year with every other budget, their budgets will be going up. And we felt as though 150 was a safe number. So if something happened and the grant did not come through for some other reason, we could potentially fund this 150 in a fall town meeting if we had to.
Right.
All right. Okay, emergency management, Scott.
No changes to emergency management. Even through COVID, the emergency management department, knock on wood, has been relatively quiet. Expenses, haven't been, we haven't had any expenses other than clerical. So yeah, emergency management, we're not changing. I mean, we still have some, satellite phone contracts. We still have the community all call. None of that seems to be changing or increasing for this upcoming year.
Is this another area where we could got COVID funds to help us to offset the cost of kind of supporting things?
So, I mean, all our COVID funds right now have come through the CARES Act, and Biz has been managing, which thank you, Biz, for doing that, because it's an absolute nightmare. Also, the FEMA has their reimbursement program, which is, CARES Act is 100%. The FEMA reimbursement program is 75%. Anything that we do for vaccines is at 100% reimbursement right now through FEMA, which is good. So, yes and no. I mean, absolutely. I mean, emergency management has always worked with the town during big storms to get the reimbursement for whatever we can.
So we budget for it, but throughout the course of the year, there are opportunities for us to get some of this stuff offset. Is that a fair way of saying it?
No, not what's budgeted. No, we don't. I mean, what we budget is what we budget. What we use is what we use. We don't get much reimbursement for what we use.
Okay.
Any
Right.
sign of the vaccine coming in, Scott?
No, and it's we've been working hard at it. Board of Health, Delia, the health agent, and we order vaccine every week, and we just got a letter that came out yesterday and today stating that towns are not going to receive the vaccine. They're pushing everything to the mass vaccination sites, and it's just a travesty, absolute travesty. I don't feel that the populations that we need to be getting vaccinated right now are being treated fairly. The 20, 30, 40-year-olds, send them to the max vaccination sites. But, our older population and our vulnerable population, they need to be going to a local area, somewhere within their own hometown, or having the volunteers and the firefighters come to them.
I agree. I agree.
I agree with you too.
Yeah, you'll see tomorrow on the news, a ton of the local chiefs are going to be having a press conference to express our discord. I won't be there. Unfortunately, I have a doctor's appointment. I wish I were going to be there. But yeah, you'll see it on the news tomorrow.
Is the Marshfield Fairgrounds one of the big sites they're talking about?
So it was, and that's what they wanted to see. And then Marshfield won't even be getting the vaccine for their sites because the towns are going to focus on some of the, I forget how they put it, but some of the more poorer towns and cities, Lawrence, Lowell, Randolph, Haverhill, Holyoke, they're gonna really push the vaccine out in those areas.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Well, they were saying tonight on the news, I said it earlier, they want to regionalize Marshfield for the South Shore, which and the town manager of Marshfield was on TV tonight. He doesn't like it neither. I don't see why we can't go, like you said, Scott, somewhere in our own town. So we don't have to drive distances to get the shot.
Yeah, every year, the town of Rockland is required to participate in emergency dispensing site training. The emergency management team, as well as the Board of Health, are required to participate in this training, tabletop training, and then hold drills. And granted, we haven't had to hold a physical drill, but on our vaccine administration ability, and the Department of Public Health requires us to do this. Yet when it comes time in a true emergency pandemic to do it, they throw the plans out the window and they do their own thing.
Right.
So it's frustrating.
It's horrible.
I was fortunate. I got vaccinated last week in Kingston.
Yeah.
Through.
Was that at a pharmacy?
No. I go through South Shore Medical Center, and they're using the Kingston Urgent Care that is part of it's under their umbrella.
So that's probably supplied from the feds. Yeah.
And well, everything's supplied from the feds. And I just, and part of that letter is that the hospitals are not going to be receiving their allotments. The clinics are not going to be receiving their allotments, and you're not guaranteed to get your second dose. It's very frustrating what's going on. And I feel, yeah. And you got to fight for that second dose. And I just feel that, the state's letting down a population right now that should be getting it. I think they're letting everybody down. Yeah. But we're working on it. We order it every week, and sometimes the squeaky wheel gets oiled, but I think unfortunately it's going to come to a rusty stop.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff. As always, Scott, thank you for everything that the fire department does, certainly. I firsthand knowledge a few years ago with the fire in our own neighborhood.
Yeah.
It caused a lot of damage, and you guys protected everybody really well. So we appreciate it. We appreciate everything you're doing and everything you're going to do with this whole vaccine once things kind of get together and get moving in the right direction. So
no, thank you, everybody. I appreciate all your support over the years. Can you believe it? This is my 10th finance committee meeting. So thank you all for your support. I think
do you have any articles
here, I think it's only Julie and Bobby that are original, and Bill.
No, I've been here too.
Oh, yeah. And Joe, Joe's. I always forget about you, Joe. I'm sorry. There you go. So that's one dissenting vote on my budget, Joe. Joe is going to zero it all out.
Scott, we didn't cover any articles with you. Did you have any articles that you were planning on putting in?
So there's an article. There's a second payment for a lease purchase for the command vehicle, the newest command vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's about 23,000, 22 and change.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put in a capital request through the town administrator's office for a new engine. Mm-hmm. That's 600,000. And it doesn't look like that's going to happen this year just because of free cash and in just the the hardships. But I told Doug, if that engine doesn't happen this year, it has got to happen next year, because right now the current engine that we're running, it's 10 years old. And it's a hard 10 years. I mean, it's probably got 34,000 runs on it, so it's probably getting pretty close to 80,000 miles, and who knows how many hours on the diesel engine. So that's it. The truck's getting tired. We put about $16,000 worth of work into it, emergency work into it last year. So we need a truck.
Scott, if you want to stay on when we go over the capital request and free cash, we can give you some information at that time. I think that will be coming up before we sign off tonight, if you want to stay on, so you can get the same information that we'll be sharing tonight.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks, appreciate it. Last budget up is Gino.
Good evening, everybody.
How are you, Gino?
Hey, Gino.
So far, so
Gino.
good.
I figured you had to be on anyway, so I'd put you up as a cleanup guy.
I'm batting cleanup. Okay.
Cleanup. All right. Or the bowling term is anchorman. So there you go. You can choose which one.
There you go. Got to throw in the bail bowling terms.
All right. So go ahead. We'll roll through it.
So it's pretty straightforward. As you guys probably well aware, IT's been working 24/7, keep everybody up and running. We were very aggressive with our vendors to make sure that the increases were minimized. And with the reason you see that large increase there on the services is for the simple fact that if you look at it, we're spending over $7,500 to do the Zoom meetings a year. And then there's an increase. There was also a large increase in our remote software to allow our workers to be able to work remotely. So that's the reason why you see that large jump there. Other than that, everything is, been level funded.
Yeah, Doug was telling me that you've been doing, we've been doing some good stuff on checking out our system for security.
Yep, we do a lot of security stuff. We've been very successful with a couple of cybersecurity grants. We were successful with optimizing the usage of the CARES funding where we could. We actually just received another grant. So we're going to start doing online permitting going forward. So that'll help with workflows and such between the departments, and also accessibility for the public to enter permits and for our licensing and dog days.
I did see that the website had got some updates and it looks good.
Yeah, that was done through the CARES funding. So Biz and I worked together to get that approved. And we were able to get that done. That was a project that theoretically should have taken 6 to 7 months. We due to the deadlines in CARES, we got it done in under 3 months. So
awesome.
And we're still working on it, tweaking it, but we've received positive reviews so far on it.
Awesome. What is our any articles for IT?
No. Trying to keep it lean and mean.
Any questions for Gino on his budget?
Nope, looks good.
Thank you.
Cool. Nice job, Gino. Thank you.
Thanks, Gino.
Like that painless. Like it being painless, right?
Yes.
Be brief, be gone. Right? All right. But don't go anywhere yet.
No, I won't leave you.
Thank you. Okay, hang on a second. All right, so I'm going to share use of free cash. This is a document you wanted to review, Biz. You're on mute.
Imagine me on mute. Oh my goodness. Um, our free cash was certified at $2,111,477. There are certain things that we have to do for our FY21 budget, which is listed at the top. Contractual buyouts, which we had talked about earlier, where you were talking about sick leave buyout. Our current balance is 98,000, but we do have a number of retirees who will be coming up in FY22. In order to satisfy that, we felt bring that amount up by 125,000 should cover all of our retirees that we're aware of and give us a little bit of a buffer should somebody else retire that we're not aware of. We've been requesting retiree lists for the last 3 months. So you never know, someone could retire, could decide next week they want to retire. So that's a variable, but we feel as though we have enough to cover it. Snow and ice deficit right now, and this is as of today, this doesn't include the storms that are coming up. We have a deficit of $265,000 in the snow and ice budget. We budget $150,000 every year, so we have essentially spent $385,000. We are requesting at this point in time $419,000 to cover the snow and ice deficit that we're projecting through the rest of the fiscal year. If it's not enough money to cover the deficit, it's going to have to go to be raised on the recap. So that's something we're watching very closely. The disposal fee, which is part of the waste collection budget, is off by about 5% below. Their budget right now is $390,000. The disposal fee is up. We're projecting it's going to be another $40,000 that we're going to need to close out the year, bringing that total budget to $430,000. And the reason for the disposal fee increase is everybody's home. So everybody's home, you have more trash, there's more cost. And a way to look at it is, you go to work, you have your lunch, you throw it in your trash at work. So your work picks up that cost, but that doesn't happen now because of the situation. John, you got a big black spot on my screen. Is that you?
I do.
Sorry.
So the next line, no, it's still there. The next line, which I believe you can still see, is there you go, John. Is the health insurance budget. I am watching the health insurance budget very close. Oh, John, look at what you did. You got a big thing there now. Okay, then. I'll keep going. So the health insurance budget. There you go. Yep. I have it on my screen so I can read, but people kind of lose it there. So the health insurance budget, I'm anticipating an $85,000 deficit, or that will need $85,000 to close out the year. Reason being is last year during COVID, we had a few people retire. The school department had to bring on, they had retirees, etc., but they also had to bring on more people for staffing purposes for the remote learning. So our counts went up a little bit more than what we had projected. We usually leave a buffer, but that buffer obviously does not appear to be enough to close out this fiscal year. So
hold on. You mentioned the schools. Do we pick up does the town pick up the health insurance for schools, or is that part of the school budget?
No, we pick up the budget. We pick up all health insurance for school and town, and the retirees, all retirees, also through our cherry sheet. When a school teacher retires, they're in the MTRA, which is Mass Teachers Retirement Association or whatever it is. So when they retire, they come off of our insurance, but they also go on to our cherry sheet for GIC health insurance for retired teachers. So one retires, we hire somebody else. So it's just a moving target. Our health insurance pretty much never really changes. It more goes up than down, which is pretty standard with what we do. So yes, we do cover the school, but as a caveat to that, or a full explanation, the school department has a 70-30 obligation on the health insurance as part of their budgeting process. So when we create their budgets, they pick up 70% of the health insurance budgets. Okay, and I think you've gotten the 70-30 split allocation, which is new revenue, new growth, excise tax. I can't remember what else is on the revenue side. And then you have shared expenses being the debt that's not debt excluded, the health insurances, the retirement, things like that. So that's how we do our split for 70-30 split.
So is that 85,000? Is that 100% of the total, and school's going to be billed back 70%, or is that the town's 30% of the total?
This will go into the total health insurance. Once our budgets are completed with the school department and we voted their budget, we don't change their budget. So this 85,000, if you're going to split it 70-30, technically the school would get 70% if we're in the beginning of our budget process, but we aren't. We're at the end of it. So the town would pick up the full 85.
So that's the town's gift to the school department.
It's the gift to the employees. I'm not going to say, I can't say to the school department because some things do go back and forth. It go both ways, majority of the time. But, 30% of that would be what? About 30,000 would be the town cost, 55,000 would be the school department cost. But we do not do that to the school department for budgeting purposes, because this also gets recorded in different areas on the end of year report, which goes to the schools, the town's in kind or foundation budgets with the Chapter 78, et cetera, that we do receive.
Okay, and by the same token, if the health insurance costs went down by $200,000 next year because a bunch of teachers went on their spouses' plans, we wouldn't be splitting that 70. The town would be keeping the full 200,000 in its budget.
Correct. That'd be closing to the free cash.
Okay.
Okay. So once
got it.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Over explanation.
But
that's fine. Thank you.
But Bill, if it closes to free cash, as we know, any department can submit for a capital request, for free cash with an article. So the towns, for example, every year we've seen, I don't know that we're going to see it this year. We have their technology budget request for 100,000 that they usually put in. It's not budget, but an article they put in for technology every year.
Correct. So the next part of our budget is transfer to the Opeb trust. As we know, last year we took out a substantial amount of money from the Opeb trust, and we want to try and start putting that money back. Based on, we've been working with the Department of Revenue to come up with policy, procedures, et cetera, and they aren't etched in stone at this point, but we've taken their advice that we do 20% of the new growth, or no less than 50,000 or 5% of the local receipts. I'm sorry, I have a typo there. After doing the calculations, the amount that should go into the Opeb trust is 55,000. And it didn't matter if it was the 0.5% of local receipts or the 20% of new growth. It came out to roughly the same. So we want to put 55,000 back, and that will still leave us a good, healthy trust fund. Transfer to the stabilization fund. We would like to put $100,000 back into the stabilization fund. It's going to take us time to build up some of these reserves and put them back to where they need to be. And again, based on our DOR information, our balance at January 25th, because I know this was a question earlier, was 1.35 million. Our goal should be 3 to 5% of our budget. So with this, we're going to start putting it back in. So we're hoping to do at least $100,000 a year on the go forward, and 55 on the stabilization for the Opeb trust go forward. One of the new things
is the new budget 2 to 3%? Is that what you're saying?
Nope. That's the way I did this. Yeah, it's a different line. I'm sorry. It doesn't have the grid lines. If it did, it would be easier for you to read it.
All right, so, but our entire budget, you said that the goal is to get to 3 to 5% of our budget in stabilization. So our entire budget
is about, we'd have to have roughly about $3 million in there for a total gross. That's going to take time to build that up. It's not based on just a 1-year budget. It takes time.
So you're saying
Okay.
it's 1.335 million as of today?
As of January 25th, correct. And there'll be a little bit of change for interest, a little bit up and down, but it's not significant.
Okay.
Okay, so
yeah,
that was.
So the net is that the budget, you know, if we figure Proposition 2.5 is going to grow more than 100,000 a year, of course, at, you know, if we're figuring about 5%, right?
Right.
So that 100,000 transfer of stabilization for us to get on track to get anywhere near 3 to 5%, it's going to be more like 250 to 300,000 a year for us to start to make some headway on it. Otherwise, we're going to be here. We'll be all gone before we get there.
We will get there eventually, but it's a slow track right now because of the circumstances with our revenues, etc. But we're going to get back on track on building it back up. That's the goal.
Yeah, it's refreshing to see that it can even be in there in this kind of a year. But all right.
Well, we feel as though putting money into our savings is extremely important. So that's why we're taking this approach and putting these items at the top instead of at the bottom of our request list. Capital stabilization. Again, Doug and I have been talking about this since we got here. We want to do a capital stabilization fund.
No.
And what that will do is it will help us fund capital projects, capital items that we would need. For instance, the fire truck. So that fire truck is $600,000. If we decided to do on the lowest section, you'll see fire lease purchase, fire engine, 1 year, 1 of 10. If we had to lease it, it would cost us roughly $700,000 over 10 years. So we'd be spending $100,000 in interest. We do not feel as though that is a good way to spend money. We want to be able to pay for it outright versus going into a lease agreement. This is one of the things that we're trying to accomplish by setting up this capital stabilization fund. And we're only putting $15,000 into it from the free cash. And the reason being is we have other funding sources that can go into this account. One being Article 15 from the annual town meeting of fiscal 22. The town had voted to appropriate roughly $85,000 to fund a mini pumper for reasons defined by the fire chief. The mini pumper will no longer be needed at this point in time. So we're going to take that $85,000 and also transfer that into the stabilization fund. So right away, we have $100,000 in the stabilization fund. Earlier, someone had, I think it was the police chief, touched on the host agreement funds that we have coming in, which is separate from the tax revenue that comes from the marijuana facilities. So we are also requesting that $100,000 from our host community agreement for our first marijuana location, which is Canavana, if I pronounce that right, that $100,000 be transferred from the host community agreement into the capital stabilization fund. So this way, our intention is to get this up as quickly as we can, fund it as quickly as we can, so that we can get the fire department the engine that they so desperately need. So we're looking hopefully to have that funded in FY23. Hopefully no later than that. And I believe one of the other options that Doug had spoken with the committee about was doing a one-time debt exclusion, which is a 1-year debt exclusion for that total amount of $600,000. I think he's decided to table that for the moment. An increase to tax base for it just be a single 1-year article would be about $90 per homeowner for one fiscal year. But we want to try and pay for it in cash rather than putting it to a different burden site. So that's the host agreement. Also, last year when we were doing the budget, we had requested a holdback, which actually contributed. The holdback ended up being over $600,000, which contributed to our free cash of 2.1 million. So if we didn't take the conservative approach and save that money, it would be 1.5 million. And then there were some other things we did to save money to make this work. Personally, I'd like the holdback to be bigger, but there's other things that we have to do to make the town solid. Does anybody have any questions on the first two sections before I get down to the next part?
You really think there's gonna be $100,000 out of the marijuana?
Yes, we already have in excess of that right now.
Wow.
Right. So with any marijuana in any community, these open up, it's a novelty. People get excited, they go out, they buy. And we do have another one coming online, I think tomorrow. So, and the host agreements, and this is very important to note, it's only temporary money. It doesn't last forever. So that's why we're trying to set up a savings plan for this. So we think about the future and not just what's going on today. So anything else on that aspect? Okay. Okay. Last year, the town funded $50,000 to begin the road repairs down at the recycling center. To complete that project, it's $120,000. We started it, would like to finish it. And the fire command vehicle, this is year 2 of a 3-year lease at $22,094. And part of setting up the capital projects fund is so that we aren't continuing to burden our free cash with lease payments that go out a number of years. If we could build up that capital stabilization fund enough so we can just purchase smaller items rather than leasing them, we feel as though that's a better bang for the buck. So I had discussed the lease fire engine, 600,000. If we had to go out 10 years, it would have been 70. We took that off. I have potentially funded from new capital stabilization fund. And then next is the purchase of the pickup truck for the highway department. That is something they're starting to rotate out their equipment. It's getting older and this equipment goes for plowing, etc. So it's important to make sure their equipment stays up to date. Next is Gardner, Pine Haven, maintenance, building maintenance and repairs for the trim work. It was originally requested that we fund it $45,000 from the free cash. After discussing the situation with Dave Taylor, Doug has moved that from a separate article to free cash into the town hall capital projects, so the town capital projects.
Under his 75?
Under his 75, correct. Okay. So then Gardner, Pine Haven, repave and microsurface, that's necessary road work that we have to do.
Now, Liz,
Yes.
I got a question on that. Doesn't that fall under our road repairs that we had our override there for years ago?
No. You had a number of overrides. Typically, I think Dave would have liked to see us have another borrowing this year, but we didn't think it was prudent.
It's just a question. They weren't overrides; they were debt exclusions.
Debt exclusions,
right.
yes.
But they had a plan that did every road in Rockland.
Oh, not by the funding that I saw. And the debt exclusion, how many years ago was that?
4, 5, maybe.
And there were
5
2 of them, weren't there?
I would have to look up the debt exclusions, but
I think it was longer than that, Bobby.
yeah, I think you're looking back a number of years on those debt exclusions.
Well, it was like how long Dave been here?
Bobby, this was on the plan. This was an article last year that got pulled. It was for less money, but the cost has gone up.
Correct.
So it's back on this year. They do need to get it done. Some of the drain work over there was worse than they anticipated. That's why it went up a little bit. I forget what the lower amount was. I think it was closer to like 120 or 130 or something.
Right. And the thing is with everything that's gone on in the last 52 weeks, whatever it is in the last year, costs have gone up as well. So the last piece here for the highway department is spring, summer, beach intersections, beach street curbing and walks. There is a project going in by the, and Dave Taylor will be able to speak to this much clearer when he meets with you.
Especially since it's the intersection he lives at. So he
Oh,
knows it very well.
I don't know who lives where.
That's where Dave lives.
Okay.
Well, that's to redo the, that's gonna be to redo the sidewalks all the way down Spring Street from Market to Summer.
Yes.
It's gonna redo the sidewalk
Desperately needed.
and paving.
Correct.
Well,
And
is it gonna stop right at Summer Street or is it gonna keep going up Beach Hill?
it says Summer Beach, Beach Street. It
I
looks
think
like
it's gonna
doing
stop
both.
right at you, Julie. It's
Yeah,
gonna stop right,
right at my house, right?
yeah, it's gonna stop at the industrial park there.
Yeah, okay.
Again, those questions would be best served to Dave.
Well, he's went before capital planning the other,
Oh, okay.
we spoke to
Okay.
him, so I had a little more
Okay.
knowledge on it.
Thank you so much, because I can't answer that. I can only talk about the money aspect. So he had originally requested $600,000, but we couldn't support that this year in that amount of money. So we decided to split it to 3 phases at $200,000 each. And if we are lucky enough that our free cash comes in a reasonable amount next year, then hopefully we can fund his whole project as well. Police cruisers. Yep.
One thing, just stop you here for a second.
Mhm.
So, Bobby, I think you're assigned to Dave, right?
No, I am. Craig is.
I think on that summer,
Yeah, no.
on this
Craig?
project.
Oh, sorry, Craig, you
also-
are. That's right.
I got park and building.
Yeah.
Right.
On this
Okay, I got Dave. I mean, I got Craig here. So
on this
Craig,
roads project, it's, I mean, it was also, there's some gas leak up there and we're
Yes.
working with National Grid. They're kicking some money in to do a lot of the work up there on this Spring Street, Summer Street project.
Exactly.
Because they gotta fix the piping up there and fix the leaks. And so
So, I
National Grid's coming up with some money towards this project. It's a lot more than
Right.
this.
well,
The
yeah, I mean,
600,000, right?
200,000 is not a lot of money there, but
Right.
if you could, Craig, I'd like to see if if Dave could come prepared with. I'm sure he must have maintained a priority hit list of what he's trying to get to in the town in terms of intersections and roads and streets and sidewalks and what's urgent in need of repair, what's coming down the pipe, that kind of thing. If he has something to that effect, that would be a great, one pager or something to share with us.
Yeah, because that's next week.
Mm-hmm. And he'll be prepared to discuss that, and I'll be back on. Doug will be back on to help with this. So the next thing, the police department put in for 2 new cruises, which was for $96,000. Last year we cut their cruises from 2 to 1 due to the circumstances that we were in.
Yep.
And we will not be taking that from the free cash allocation. We plan on taking that, if you look down below, under where it says grand total, we have $96,000 funding from sources, the host community agreement.
So it's gonna come out of that. Right?
Correct. And that's a viable expenditure under the host community agreement. And we're trying to be very conservative with that money so it will last a number of years and not be spent right away. So then next is the town hall capital, is from town hall, town capital projects. There are various things that happen during the year that if we don't have the funding to do it, we can't repair, fix, and replace. And like I said earlier, one of the things was that they were requesting some maintenance down at the highway department, and that was about $45,000. So Doug has agreed to put that into his schedule for the town capital projects. rather than a departmental capital projects. The police department roof, which I'm going to have to find another $5,000 now that I'm thinking about it, because the chief said he did have additional expenses with that. So that will probably be rounded up to 117,000. Right, I'll just round it up. The town clerk election tabulators. This is the election equipment. So when you go in, you cast your vote, you put it in the machine. Ours are, we're looking at it right now. They may not be supported going forward. From what I understand, they're on Windows XP. And they no longer make the tabulators that we have, and the repair parts are quickly dwindling because a lot of communities had used the same equipment. Gino and I will be meeting with the assistant town clerk, Liza Landy, next week to go over the need and how quickly they need them. If they have to have them for FY22, we're going to be leaving it in this capital request. If they don't need an FY22, we will take it out and shift it to another area, maybe the town accountants hold back.
Hey, Biz, could you just go back? I just want to understand on the town capital projects, $75,000. So that's in Doug's budget, and Doug's the one who prioritizes the many requests coming in to spend that money.
It's not, let me just, it's not in his budget. It's tied to that article.
It's tied to that article, but Doug is the referee.
Right.
Yes, and we have a number of projects that we've been trying to deal with. One of the things that we're dealing with right now is the heaters at town hall. Heater air conditioning units are, I don't even know when they were put in, probably when the building was built. So they're antiquated, they're starting to fail. Those are things that have to be addressed. So if a department has a request, Doug will work with them to achieve what they need. I know just one thing that may come up is the library needs to have one of their rooms repaired. We had done some work after Doug and I got here. So I believe tentatively that is in Doug's capital project list as well, with the cost sharing between the library and different funding sources that they have and the town funding sources that we have. So
we gave the same amount last year, and he's still got a little bit left to go on top of that to help fund some of these issues.
Exactly. And we're trying to make sure that the buildings are safe, that people are comfortable in the work environments, etc. And 75,000.
I gotta say, I wasn't a fan of hearing that Scott's got, and I know we don't want to put a lot of money into the fire department, but I'm not a big fan of hearing about, stuff falling from the ceiling and off the walls. It's that's a health condition. It's a hazard. It's not something that.
Well, from
that
my
stuff doesn't cost a lot of money to fix.
Well, from my standpoint, truly, that was the first I heard of it was tonight. I believe Doug had already left the meeting by the time that came up.
Right.
I will mention that to Doug tomorrow. If Scott has issues, we do need to address it. He said he had a leak that was coming down from one floor to the next. So the question to Scott would be going forward, is this an insurance issue? How much is the damage? We have a $15,000 deductible. Can we get it repaired and take the deductible out of capital projects? Potentially. But if we don't know, we can't help.
Facilities maintenance department.
Well, facilities maintenance is on the wish list as we go forward, like a capital planner and a regulatory secretary and all the other happy things we'd love to have. So the wish list, unfortunately, gets bigger every year.
But even without that position, what Scott described was a health risk to town employees. And the fact that you, Biz, and presumably Doug didn't know about that before it was casually mentioned at a FinCom meeting is, in my mind, disturbing.
Well, he may have mentioned it to Doug. I may not be privy to that conversation. But we'll get down to the bottom of it and see what he needs.
I think that the department heads that I've talked to, anyway, there's an overarching kind of, feeling of level funded, let's be conservative year over year, that kind of thing, which is great because that message has definitely gotten out loud and clear. I just don't, we don't want to have anything that's, so far to the side that we needs to be addressed right away. So those are the types of things that have got to be squared away. If there are things we can hold off on a year in the where we're at, then that's fine too. But
yeah, anything that's a potential liability, health, safety, structural, that needs to get to Doug and to you, Biz, to figure out how to fund it. And ultimately to us.
We will talk to Scott and see what we can do. Can we do something to assist you in the meantime until we can get a larger article for more funding to do a renovation to the building? I mean, I think I haven't been in Rockland long, but I think we realized that a lot of the buildings were neglected. And
Oh, yeah.
a lot of them need major,
That ain't
they need major overhaul, and
Yep.
major overhauls cost money. So, okay, let's do it so it's livable, people aren't in danger, then we can move on from there.
And, we don't want to put any more money than we have to into the fire station. But let's face it, that's the fire station for at least the next 5 years. Nothing's going to be done within 3 years, most optimistically, more realistically 5 years. They got to live with that. We've got to make sure it's safe. It's safe.
Even if there's a new one in the works.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
It's not going to be finished on 5 years. You're right.
Absolutely. And if Doug was on the call and he was aware of it, I'm sure he would have brought it up that, sometimes conversations go on that, I find out later because I don't have to be privy to anything or everything. And they more than likely have discussed the issues at the fire department. Okay, we have to fund them. Let's figure out how we can do it. That may be on Doug's capital plan or his capital projects plan right now to help Scott get some of this stuff done. Okay. Okay. So people don't get ignored. All they have to do is ask a question and we'll help them as best we can. John, you want to go back up a little bit? The last parts that we're looking at here is the technology of the school department, which is standard at 100,000. We've confirmed we will be keeping that. The school department, they have a number of lease payments still outstanding. These are in years 3, 4, and 5, I think, on 3 different leases. And they had 2 leases expire last year. I think the lease request was 71,000. So now we're down to 51,000.
Those are the minivans, right?
Yes, this bed vans.
Bed vans, yeah.
Yep.
And the school will have the same access as the other departments to submit
of course
requirements for articles that could tap into the capital stabilization if that's built up over time.
Correct. That would be open to all departments.
Right.
It would be exactly like this, like the free cash allocation. Give us your capital. What do you need? Capital planning committee, it gets reviewed, it gets assessed. Yes, we can do it. No, we can't do it. How are we going to pay for it?
Right. And what's important too is that the capital stabilization, I want to make sure we're clear on this. It still is going to require, if it's a 50,000 plus item, it's still going to require capital, the capital finance committee to authorize it. And it's still going to authorize finance committee. And then it still has to be voted at town meeting as an article. It's just the funding source will be the capital stabilization fund and not free cash in that particular year.
Absolutely. So what will happen is an article will say transfer from capital stabilization fund to the general fund to fund the article to purchase the fire truck. So it'd be a transfer to general to cover this expense. You don't want to expend straight out of your stabilization funds. It's not good practice. You have to keep things clear or you will end up at a little bit of a jam. So that covers the school department. So pretty much we have spent $2,111,477. But out of that, we have savings. So savings went first, needs went second. So I think, going forward, that's the plan that we have come up with and want to continue to come up with. Okay, so 470,000 into savings. Now, The water department, they have an undesignated fund balance of 809,000. Joe would like to transfer money to a stabilization fund as well. So initially I was looking at $100,000 so we can leave them some money in their unreserved fund, call it a departmental holdback or an accountant's holdback. They need to replace a dump truck, water meter upgrade program, which is standard every year, treatment plant upgrades, and pump and filter upgrades. These are standard articles that they do every year. They're in a better position this year, closing out 20 than they were closing out 19. So if everything continues and we keep on top of the management, Joe does an excellent job. They will start building up the reserve under capital for future projects, future analysis and, reviews that they have to do. So it's giving them a little bit of a savings account as well. The sewer department undesignated fund, theirs was a little bit lower this year. Part of that is, with John leaving, I'm sorry, I got spelling issues all over the place. With John leaving, Dave stepping in to help out. These are the items that Dave had sent up. The transfer to sewer stabilization, and we're looking at about $100,000. I put that in there, hoping we could start a stabilization fund for them. That wasn't done by Dave. That wasn't done by the sewer commissioners. I put it in there just as a holding place. Sewer system pump and injector station repair and replace, 100,000. Sewer inflow infiltration. That's a standard article they have every year at 100,000.
Yeah.
When they get the new sewer superintendent, we'll be going over all these things with him or her. It's going to take a while for them to get, to get acclimated and up to play, but we'll discuss some of these things with them.
We do have a potential candidate we're about to bring on, right?
From what I understand, they were down to the final two.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I think final interviews might be tomorrow night, if I'm correct. I don't really have any insight on that. I don't have anything to do with it, but I think that's what's going on. So the water treatment plant phase 2 study and engineering, and then sewer cleanup around the pump stations. That I believe that should be a budgeted issue and not taken from their undesignated fund. Oh, final two interviews will be on Tuesday. Okay, we just got to chat. Just sharing that. I'm omniscient, So I think the pump station cleanup needs to be done from their budget. But again, Dave did his best helping them out, putting in things that he thought that they needed and based on past history. So that's what we have for our free cash undesignated fund allocations. And just like the regular budget, some of this is subject to change. Do we have any questions?
So each one of these lines has to be voted at town meeting, right?
They will each have their own article, correct? Yep. So each will have their own article. Last year for the FY19 budget cleanup, 20, whatever year it was. I'm so confused. On the budget cleanup from last year that we did the special town meeting within the annual, we just did a one article to request this be funded to do year-end budgetary closeouts. So that will be a single article. The others will have to be, accountant's holdback is not an article. The other ones will need to be articles because they're all specific use.
Okay.
So, Biz, I understand the purpose of the accountant's holdback. I mean, but it's it basically what it's doing is it's propping up, or it's giving you is the accountant's holdback anything that can be spent in that fiscal year, or is it basically like it's going to be an unbudgeted revenues that's going to end up flowing to free cash no matter what?
Okay. How this works is When you close each year, you have a free cash balance or an undesignated fund balance. There's a calculation that goes to get you your free cash balance. But let's say I have a revenue deficit of $100,000. This is just smizing here. And we overspent our expenditures by $100,000. We're automatically in a deficit of $200,000. If I didn't have that holdback of $300,000, we would be in deficit $200,000. That would give us a negative free cash. So
the let's say it gets approved, we do the 300,000. Let's say snow and ice comes in the following year, or I should say, let's say we don't cover the snow and ice and it ends up being, it's going to get carried over and taken care of on the recap. Let's say we have 300,000 in money for snow and ice that we have to cover in the recap. That accountant's holdback is now can come in at that point as well and cover it, right?
The accountant's holdback, snow and ice is your only legal deficit that's allowed by law. So you would always raise your snow and ice on the recap. This would be other departmental overages, unders. Like I said, last year we did a great job in turnbacks. We had roughly, and I know this isn't going to add up because there's a calculation that goes in the background to this, but the departments, the school department turned back roughly $13,000, but the total turn back from departments was roughly $1,765,000. Okay, so you take the $1,765,000. Our revenue was short. I believe it was short approximately $800,000. And so you take it's net income. You take your shortage in your revenue, subtract out your expenses that you turned back. So you had about $900,000 positive to your free cash.
Right.
But the holdback added another $600,000 to that. So that just gave us 1.5. And then, like I said, there's other calculations that go in there, but the accountant's holdback is one of the most important things that I would recommend in this free cash calculation. It's also recommended by the DOR and the auditors that you do not spend all.
I believe the prior account used to have a holdback there as well.
Okay. I don't know what Eric did. I just know, when I got here that, I hate to say it, all but I think $14,000 was spent from the free cash. I know there's a lot of turnover and, everything going on, but I need to maintain the conservative line. Doug and I went back. I had a much larger holdback. So Doug and I go back and forth. And again, this is subject to change. We're happy with what it looks like. We're hoping that this can stand pat, and this is what we can do. But we're trying to keep us stable.
Okay. So obviously this is a snapshot of where you're at, where the town's at in terms of how they think the articles are going to flow.
Yes.
There's a lot of room for movement and growth and changes between now and the time when we get close to voting on articles, and certainly well before town meeting. So we'll kind of take this a step at a time. I like this one page. It's pretty well laid out. It's got some good notes and explanation on the side. Helpful by all means. So I appreciate you guys, Biz, you putting this together so that we can, kind of roll through it when we get back. We can use this as a reference even as we get closer to voting on the actual articles. Especially if these notes are updated and things like that of where things are at. So
they will be chronically updated. Doug and I go over this at least once a week, if not 5 days a week, to make sure, we know what's going on and what we can do and what we can't do. So any updates, any changes, typically any changes that we have, we'll highlight and we'll let you know what changed and why it changed.
All right. With that, any final questions on this discussion here, Town of Rockland? capital request summary for certified free cash.
Nope.
Good.
Okay,
All right, good stuff. Okay, I
Thank
think
you,
that
Biz.
you're welcome.
that brings us to
I like
the
the
end.
one-page thing.
Yeah, it's good, good. And I'm not sure if I had a chance. This is the busiest week of the year for me. So I'm not sure if I had the chance to forward this out to everyone, or Biz, have you forwarded it? I don't think you forwarded it to everyone, right?
The free cash
Yeah.
certification, I did forward it to every email that I had available to me.
Yeah, I got it back today.
I just saw the email with the total dollar. I didn't see an attachment or whatever, but unless you just did it recently.
No, I sent out that today
Oh, okay.
in preparation for the meeting.
Oh,
It's
I did-
Megan, correct? Is it Megan?
Yeah.
I don't think I have your email address. So
Right.
maybe someone can just fire me off an updated email address. Jeff, did you get it?
I forwarded it to everyone just now. So if they didn't
Okay.
get it,
I
they
got
should
it
have.
earlier today.
I got it.
Okay. That's a question that I do have, John. When I'm sending out information, do you want me to just leave it going through you to the committee, or do you want me to CC the committee? I don't want to overstep. I don't want to violate your protocols. So I just
I'm
kind of
fine.
go.
Anything that the town is sharing with me can be obviously shared with the committee.
Okay.
If it's something that you want me to look at, you want me to look at, and you want to have a quick discussion, like a little
Yeah.
sidebar before we
Sure.
send something out, that's perfectly fine too.
Okay. Okay.
But
I did get it, Biz. I have it open here already on my screen.
Okay. All right. That's fine. That's fine. I just know I sent it out last minute. I sent it out today because you had asked about this last week, and we went over it last night with the selectmen, although they didn't have the updated 265 deficit. Theirs was reflecting about 130. So that was updated today as well.
So I'll put you on the spot a little bit with a quick question, but I don't think it's that crazy. But if I said to you, like, what are the 3 things that you think can kind of be the biggest problems for us between now and town meeting? What are your biggest concerns? What are the numbers you're waiting for to come in? Your biggest concerns that are out there?
Well, my biggest concerns are, we know we're going for an RFP for the trash. We have built into their budget the buffer for that. We do have some budgetary changes we've worked with. And the scariest thing, just like we hit last year, is the governor's budget, the state budget. You know, I do not anticipate that they would come back and reduce it. Not at this point in time, not with everything the communities went through last year. But that's always a concern. Our hope right now is, I don't want to do this 20 times before town meeting, because to be perfectly honest, that was a nightmare. Doug and I were doing the budgets every day, changing it every day. None of us want to go there.
Exhausting. I understand.
Yeah, we want to present our best budget. We do have some items that will be changing. This was brought up last night at the selectmen's meeting, so there's no reason why I can't bring it up tonight. If Doug was here, I'm sure he would as well. We are examining a rate increase to the trash because the budget's going up so much that it has to support itself. This will be going before the Board of Health commissioners, Board of whatever they're called, in the next couple of weeks. This is something that Doug, Deli, and I have been working. Nobody wants to see an increase to anything. We understand that, but when your trash budget goes up by 6%, you have to be able to sustain that. The only way to sustain it is via fees.
Didn't they raise it a year ago?
Yeah. Yes, they did. And, you know, for the same reason, the trash rate really hadn't been reviewed. Right. And it needs to be self-sustaining. One of the things, not today, not tomorrow, but in the future is the DOR is also recommending that trash, sewer, and water all become enterprise funds. So by being an enterprise fund, it has to be self-sustaining, and right now it's not. So we're also trying to get it to the point little by little to help it be self-sustaining so it can come out of the town budget and be its own entity. You know, it's not.
And when is that RFP due, do you think, Deb?
Oh, it's gonna take a while. It's gonna take a while.
The current contract, I actually met with
yeah.
Delshon
Okay.
last night as
Oh,
liaison.
Yep.
And when we touched on some of these subjects,
Mhm.
as you know, Biz, she doesn't think during COVID it's a good time to switch, but she is putting out those requests for
It's not that we want
budget.
to switch, but it's nice to know what's out there and what's available. And RFP
Right.
is a good way to plan your future. You know, you can't
This-
just stop the wheels from turning. I know everybody's overwhelmed, we're all busy, but from a financial standpoint, it's the best thing that we can do for the town is put out an RFP.
And there's still some inherent cost out there too if we do switch
Correct.
to with Republic, because
Mhm.
I mean a lot of people still have barrels that are technically owned by Republic. We'd have to pay them for those or whatever, I think, something like that.
Oh, all right,
And
so,
those are things that in my opinion, they're minor.
Yeah.
You know, you have a new vendor, you replace the barrels, okay, Republic, come get your barrels, we're all done with you.
Right. Yeah.
You know, that's kind of the way that works. And
But then we'd have to buy new barrels for the people to get their barrels taken away.
but those barrels would be included in the contract for the current people we have. So
Okay.
I mean, that's my opinion. You know, I'm not working the RFP. I think we still have to examine every option for everybody involved and what's out there. We have a 6% budget increase. Can somebody service the town better at the same rate or less? I don't know. I'm not my job.
so getting back to the question, though, is, as far as timing goes on that, you think is that something where you're targeting to get answers back in a month, 2 months? Town meeting, after town meeting?
I think she gave me the impression maybe closer to after town meeting, maybe.
Right. It's a long process to do the RFP.
Okay.
And if we have to, we can do an extension with the current provider. If we have to, it would only be a 1-year extension from what I understand, but we have to work together to achieve the goal of containing the costs.
When did that contract go out?
I'm sorry, Julie?
When is that contract over?
I believe it's over June 30.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, because they had a 2-year extension, right?
Yes, and so 2-year extension, we're now into a 5-year contract, and to keep extending a contract, personally, I think we need to look at it. So Delshon will do what she needs to do.
The governor's budget is, you mentioned that as another one. So what's the latest, like, when do you think you're gonna have a final on that?
Oh my God, we didn't get the final for 2020 until December 24th or 26th. So your guess is as good as mine. I'm not being
Hopefully it's gonna be a
facetious,
lot
but
sooner this year.
we aren't hitting the same roadblocks, and let's just hope that everything stays pretty much status
Right.
quo. It goes to House Ways and Means next, I believe. They're supposed to do something in April. And then the next is it's not the conference committee. It's like 5 different factions they go to. They go to the governor, then House Ways and Means. I can't remember the next one. And that comes out in May. And then it goes to conference committee typically in June. Then it will hit the governor's budget the end of June, beginning of July. That's a typical run through. It used to be your budget from the state was done, complete, and you knew prior to June 30 what you were facing. Now it's crapshoot because we have no clue. I'd like to give you better information, but I just can't.
What's your third one, if you have one, you're concerned about?
Every year there's concern, you know, if someone retires, replacing an employee, insurances change, things like that. Everything in a budget is a concern. What's here today may not be here tomorrow. We may have to do a shuffle. Right now, one of my biggest concerns is not just on our side, but on the school side. The school has a big issue right now. They are working diligently to work out this issue, but we have to work it out together. And that budget coming down from the state is substantial because we had anticipated with the School Opportunities Act last year in the governor's budget in January, Rockland literally got an increase of $1.8 million. Well, that's great. And then they took it all away. And then in November for the budget, they gave us $800,000 back. All news reports were saying that governor's now supporting the Student Opportunity Act. Everybody's going to get funded 100%. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we're going to get that extra 800,000. So we had anticipated an extra 800,000 to make this budget. We get the governor's cherry sheet, and it's not there. We got a net increase in Chapter 70 of like $67,000. So shock, to say the least. I know that the school committee, the school superintendent, the town administrator, the board of selectmen are working diligently with people at the State House. They're writing letters saying, you've got to readdress this. You know, a lot of it had to do with COVID, with people going to homeschooling, people going to other schools, and, you know, our tax base went up because it goes up every year. And they're saying our economic status went up, which has an impact on these formulas. And to be honest, you can't, in my opinion only, I don't think that anything should have changed from the counts for what happened in 2020. I think 2020 should be thrown out the door and just leave everything to your calculations on 19. And a quick analysis that I showed for Plymouth County, the only ones who got any substantial increases were the town of Abington, the city of Brockton, and the town of West Bridgewater. And that's it. Everybody else got very flat or very little increase. And I just looked at Plymouth County. I didn't look at anything else. So we're fighting the battle to get more money. And
all right, that's a good list and stuff that we can, you know, hope to see updates on and hopefully positive movement on all three, at least within our early expectations of where they might land. All right, with that, Julie, you had a couple of meeting notes that you wanted to go through.
Yeah, I sent them out today. Did everybody get them?
Yep.
Julie, did you send them to my Rockland Finance email address?
Yes.
Okay, so I've got February 3rd and February 10th in my email here.
That's right.
Okay, let me do this. Share my screen.
Is Scott still with us?
No, he signed off.
Yeah, he left.
All right. So this is February 3rd.
I don't vote.
Week. Bob McDonald was absent. Bob cannot vote. Is town administrator Megan Rooney was also tense. Is Megan with a GH?
Yes. Right, Megan?
Slide 22, detailed.
Is it MEGHAN, Megan? Megan, is she still with us?
Yeah, she's probably muted but it is MEGHAN. I'm trying to see where it is on the.
Give us a thumbs up, Megan.
No, there's an H in there.
There you go. There's an H. Yeah. It's on her screen name. Look at that. That's pretty.
She changed it from Caitlin, her daughter.
All right.
Oh, that's right. I was Madeline last week.
Oh, Madeline, sorry.
It's all right.
Okay.
All right. Town adjustment. Okay, all town. June 30th. Okay. All right. Okay. So these are the minutes that Julie has for February 3rd. I'll I'll entertain a motion to approve the meetings as written if there are no adjustments that people see.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from February 3rd as written.
Okay. I got a motion and a second. Was that you, Bill?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None? Okay.
All right.
Meetings from February 3rd are accepted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go back
What do
to
you like better?
February 10th.
Like
Okay,
the-
February 10th meeting.
Yeah.
This is last week. Let me share my screen. You guys could see that. Okay. Bob McDonald was absent. Everyone else was in attendance. Okay. Deb went over the assessor budget. Clerk.
Oh, you really butchered Megan's name this time, Julie.
Where is it?
Majen.
MA.
It's M-E-G-H-A-N.
M-E-G-H-A-N. That's what I have it written in tonight's notes. Okay. I'm sorry, Megan. I will.
All
add
right.
it.
Third time's a
Have a hard time
charm,
with
Julie. All right. Let's move to the department. Okay. Tom Hickey presented on the social vote tech. Was their total budget an increase of 1.89% or 189 bucks? Let me go back to my notes.
It was $125 increase, I believe. Oh, no, it was a decrease of $9,607, I believe.
That's right. 9,607 because they gave back some money or something got recalculated right there at the end.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, Julie, so can you update that?
Trying to find my regular notes.
Okay. All right.
I'm sorry, I won't speak to you minutes again. I just realized I was doing that, sorry.
No, that's okay.
All right. So that it should be an increase on the total budget of what?
A decrease.
A decrease.
Yep. Of 9,000. I want to say it was 608. Is that right?
I don't recall.
Do you have that accurate number since you?
Let me look at the budget. It's going to take me a second.
Yeah, I
Oh,
didn't.
I have 9,607.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, so I
think the
said 9,607.
1.89
So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think the 1.89 was their overall increase, and then our portion of it decreased by 9,000.
No, this is the South Shore VOTAC.
Yep.
Right.
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 Yes.
Yeah. We decreased
That
by
was
yeah.
The total budget was an increase, but our share
Right.
was a decrease. Okay.
Yeah. Our budget went down by that. Okay.
Okay.
Mm.
All right. Good.
That's because we went down a student.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then this is Doug reading out on the town stuff. All right. Anything that we missed here on the budget beyond Megan's spelling, which is quickly becoming a thing, and the adjustment that we made to the social vote tech wording. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve as updated.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 10th as updated.
Okay, I have a motion. A second.
I'll second it.
Second by Bill. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. And that is a vote. So Julie, any other minutes I need to review?
No, that's it. I will get these off to the town clerk tomorrow as corrected, and we'll be all up to date.
Okay, and then I will just take a quick look at next week. So next week is February 24th. And it's all about Dave, I believe. So Craig, have you had it? Yeah, we got sewer, we got parks, we got building department, right?
Mhm.
And let me see, who's assigned to building? Bobby, you're gonna talk to
Yeah, Tommy.
To Tom. Okay. And Craig, you've got, well, we got Parks with who?
Me. I got
Parks
Park
and
too. I'll see Peter.
And Craig, you've got water, sewer, highway, trees. Is that right?
Yep.
That's
I'll give
all-
those two guys a call. this
That's
week.
all Dave, pretty much. Yeah. All right, good. So February 24th, we'll be teed up again here. Same bad time, same bad place, right? 7 p.m. on Wednesday. And we'll go through those budgets. And if you have an opportunity and you do talk to these folks, if you can maybe send an email out to the group. Again, we're looking for high level stuff, big changes that they've got coming. Just try and keep an eye out. I think now some of you have gone through some of these conversations. Again, just to refresh your memory, if there are some of the questions that we ask tend to be repetitive. So certainly prepping those department heads ahead of time. And if there are things that they can bring, like we mentioned with Dave, give us kind of like a high level, hey, we're targeting, this is what my hit list looks like, and here's what we need to get to. So, all right. Sounds good. Any other open items?
Just me before you sign off. Transfer requests. I do not have any today. However, based on Scott's conversation earlier, I have already sent him and Doug an email for us to discuss tomorrow about his building issues. I may or may not need to come back to you for funding. I just want to give you a heads up. If I don't have to, my plan is I won't, but if I have to, I will certainly let you know.
The other thing is that concerned me was that he was talking about that fire engine that's falling apart.
Correct. And that's on the capital project.
Yeah, but you spoke that you wanted that money to come out of the new stabilization fund that hasn't grown to that amount yet. Is the fire engine going to last long enough?
That if it can't go this year, it's definitely got to be on next year.
Well, that's our goal. We can't put it in this year unless we do borrowing, which we don't want to do. We don't want to lease.
But we're not going to get $600,000 in 1 year into that stabilization.
No, it looks like it's going to, might be a lease.
You might be surprised.
I
Okay.
would be.
Okay.
Yeah, well, there's a big cloud down by the Hingham border, Rockland.
Just keep the faith. Keep the faith.
Okay.
Our goal is to get it funded. Yeah, if we want to have it funded for 23, that's our goal. So we're going to do everything we can to achieve that goal.
Joe, do you have a new copy of the capital plan?
I don't have a copy. Rich didn't send it to me yet. He said he was going to. Jeff, he didn't send it, did he? Oh, I have an email from him. I didn't open it up today. I was running late to try to get onto this meeting.
Yeah, maybe you can get us a copy of that for the next meeting or two.
I mean, that's a moving target. It's being updated as we're going along, and the departments we met with Dave over the sewer and the highway last week.
Yeah, I think we got 2 more weeks of meetings to go, right?
Yeah, we got the school on March 3rd.
Right. Yeah, 2.
Yeah.
I think you have meetings through March 10th. Am I correct?
Yeah, no, I was talking about capital planning.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
We don't have that many more to meet with capital planning, do we?
Okay.
Yeah, I just think we just have 2 weeks left.
Yeah.
And then you guys will have your vote.
Yeah, we got next week, and we got March 3rd, which is Board of Health, School, CPA, and Historical, and Library. And then we got March 10th, which is open.
Okay, I told school they could go right off at 7 o'clock.
I did meet with the Board of Health as liaison, even though we're not meeting till the 3rd, but I mean, we've already touched on any of the major issues anyway with Biz here, and there's nothing else earth shattering on that budget.
All right, good stuff. Anything else that anyone else wants to share? So Joe and Jeff, you guys will keep us updated with the capital plan. When that starts to come together and Rich is ready to come and present that capital plan, by all means, let us know. We could probably squeeze them in on, you definitely squeeze them in on the 10th, but maybe by the 3rd. However it ends up working out, we'll get him in here so we can get his stuff. Biz, you guys have like within your dates, you're planning, like when you're gonna start having rough drafts of the warrant? That gonna be like beginning of March?
I'm gonna say mid-March. Mid-March. We have to start drafting the warrant now. We used last year's warrant, so we'll start drafting it, doing the articles, things like that, based on the premise that what we have is going forward. There's no, there's gonna be a zoning article for floodplains, things like that. There's a couple of articles that don't have a financial contingent to them.
Yeah, we're only concerned mainly with the financial, obviously with the financial ones. The CPA ones sometimes get, those are a little last minute, and our vote is just more, based on the advice of the attorney.
Committee. We have received nothing from the CPA.
Okay.
So we don't know if they're tabling any articles this year or not.
So Bobby, when you're talking to Parks,
Yeah.
that's that whole group over there. So,
the CPA dude, yeah.
yeah. Make sure you put that on your list of questions.
Yeah, though.
All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Second. All in favor?